What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of epic conversations. I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2020 Best Podcast News and 2018 Innovation Award given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I almost forgot that. Canadian Ethnic Media Association. Also, I host the only online show in the world for fathers and dads that is sponsored by Dove Men Care. That is relevant with today's epic conversation. And it's also co-sponsored by Dads Central, Canada's national fatherhood organization. And also, when I have some other time, I'm the board chair for an organization called the Global Food and Drink Initiative. It's a multimedia not-for-profit that showcases Blacks in the diaspora that are involved in making it happening, doing the thing in food, wine, and travel. In another episode of a journey called Dads Talking. And I love these conversations because they're one-on-one conversations with dad or dads about being a dad. And also today fills another one of my purposes or my missions is to meet new and wonderful people. And we have another one today. Jason Centeno is a retired Philadelphia firefighter. It's my first firefighter I have been on the platform. Entrepreneur, adoption advocate who has a passion for helping entrepreneur fathers navigate the complexities of balancing their businesses and family lives. I love that mission statement. I like that one. Got to ask him if he came up with it. He explores this and other common themes during candid interviews with fellow dadpreneurs on the show, The Dad Next Door. What he really loves more than anything else is finding everyday people who have big, possibly world-changing ideas, who have no idea to bring their big ideas to life, and helping those people to develop their big ideas into actual tech companies. He currently sits on the board of the USHX real estate app and is in development with his own big idea. I think he has more than one big idea, but one big idea on trash disposal and actively guides other potential founders daily through the idea development partnership with CILA Labs. He currently resides with his wife, Luz, and 6 children in Tampa, Florida, and spends most of his downtime wrangling kids, crafting immaculate dad jokes, and teasing gators in the lake out back. So let us welcome for the first time, but not the last time. Should we call him the firefighter? Should we call him the alligator wrestler? I don't know what to call him. We got Jason. How you doing, Jason?
Good. And to answer that question, just call me the dad next door because I'm just trying to rep all the guys that you might not know that live right next door to you that have these secret lives. You know, the guy taking out the trash could really be Batman. You just never know.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I got asked, did you come up with that mission statement? Because that's bonus.
It's probably taken like a year to kind of come up with something that concise. To be honest with you, the only reason it sounds that good right now is because I was forced to write a biography in the third person, which I do not like because it just sounds so pretentious. I'm part of a book that's coming out next month, an anthology, you know, when you get a bunch of authors together and they make this book and, you know, Chicken Soup for the Soul and all those other kind of guys. Well, some guys decided to let me hang out and be a part of their book. And I was honored to do that. I feel like I'm probably going to be the least interesting story in the book, but so what? I'm a published author after that. So winning, but yeah, whatever gets me closer to the goal of 100 on my journey to 100. And I guess we're going to talk about that real short.
Sure. Like I love to do in the audience who comes on likes to do. Well, let's hear a little bit about young Jason. What was young Jason? Hey, I'm glad you had your sip of water before I finish that question. What was young Jason all about?
So, okay. So I grew up, my parents moved from Puerto Rico to America, ended up meeting and, you know, had that whole, it wasn't exactly West Side Story, but my father was in a gang. So that is the truth of the matter. In fact, he was probably at 10 years old. He was a very, he was involved in a gang, and let's just say they had him because he was the smallest guy. They had him doing a lot of what do they call those, second story man jobs, because he could fit in small spaces. So he was actually pretty bad. Now,
Wow.
unfortunately, he didn't have a lot of direction. He grew up in, not the greatest part of town. And he actually got to a point in his life where he wanted to commit suicide. But what he ended up, yeah, well,
wow.
Obviously I wouldn't be here if that had happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what happened with him was he had decided that there was a mission called Teen Haven, where they would go out and they would take kids from the inner city and have them go out into the country and experience like camping. And then they would witness to them and get them involved and, just, teach them about the word of God and the opportunities that lie in, becoming a believer in Jesus Christ. So inside of that, he was like, well, look, I'm not, I grew up in a Catholic household. We don't really believe that, but you know what? This place sounds like a great place to go commit suicide because I don't want my family to find me like that, right? So he totally went with the intention of, killing himself, and instead he became a believer in Christ through the work of the people there, and he got a passion for reaching out to his community. He decided to become, over the years, as he got older, he decided to become, in his words, a missionary to the city of Philadelphia, where other people would go. Their mission field is like my sister's in France or, another country. He decided that he was just going to be a missionary to his own backyard. So that's basically what he dedicated his life towards. So not a common choice for gang members from Puerto Rico, but yeah, he made it work, and he actually created quite a name for himself. Reverend Pastor Louis Centeno, if you want to Google him, he, in the city of Philadelphia, he stood out in the community as a leader, first as a missionary, a pastor. He's currently a police chaplain and runs a smaller church.
We need to get him on this.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely like to be on these kind of things. So he is what what I had to look up to, and you know how it is when you're growing up. Maybe over the years, you definitely have a difference of opinion with your parents. But I'm just trying to set the stage for you because you asked me how was I when I was young. So I was a little bit of I don't want to say Jekyll and Hyde. I had two sides. Okay. So if you know anything about preachers' kids, they're either really bad or really good, or there's a flip-flop that happens somewhere. And I don't know which one of those I would be considered, but I will say this. I was super smart. I actually I graduated when I was 16 years old from high school. I started at 4 and they just kept me going. So I was like raised on Sesame Street. I knew how to read. I just powered through that kind of stuff. I was also very street smart. And that's a crazy combination, especially when there's a lot of opportunities. But fortunately, because my father was who he was, there was a part of me that never really went over to the dark side, because the people that he reached out to, I never wanted to be like. Like I would see the people he was helping, right? And they were really nice people, and then they get on the drugs, and then you see how they affect their family, and they went crazy. So as much as I danced with the devil on one side of these things, I would say that something always kept me back from going completely wrong. I had some kind of moral code, thanks to him, even though I can say that I didn't necessarily believe everything he believed on the way up. I did come to later on. But the point I'm trying to make is the hand of God pretty much kept me out of all the bad stuff. I can't count how many times I was standing on a corner and I walked away, and literally 2 minutes later, they shoot up the corner. Or I'm in a car seat, I get out the car drives away. I hear the next day, they shot at me last night, and they show me a bullet hole in the ceiling of where I would have been sitting in that car. So all I got to say is, like, I know I was saved for something greater. Yeah. I just never knew what it was until like maybe this year, or I would say maybe 2014 is where it became a little bit more clear for me, but it developed over time. So as a kid, I was two worlds. I was sent to Christian private school where that taught me, and I was smart. I got good grades. And then I would go home and I'd be in these streets where all my friends are like, they weren't necessarily bad kids, but like people were shooting. There was drugs everywhere. I was almost raped. I had to fight people off with a screwdriver. They were trying to steal my bike. Like all kind of, I got crazy scars from falling off of roofs and fighting and all kinds of things. Broke my hand fighting, just that kind. So like I said, it was a Jekyll and Hyde kind of to me kind of thing. And that's probably why I ended up as a firefighter, because I wasn't really afraid of too many things. It was just a job to me though at the time.
Right.
It wasn't really my, what I wanted to do with my life, but the opportunity presented itself. So I took it. And fortunately, I just had enough chemistry or the combination of the right characteristics to make it through. But I wasn't necessarily, it wasn't really like, people might go out there. I always wanted to be a firefighter. I always wanted to help people. I cannot say in all truth that was my goal. I did that by default. I probably, if I was to look at all the firefighters I know, I would probably rank myself on a scale of like pure, intention of like saving lives, maybe about a 5. Mm-hmm. But again, you would have to ask the other people. Like, I don't know. I can't talk about myself in a way that feels authentic. I would say find somebody and ask them about me, what they thought, because really that my reality is in my head and one thing, and what they saw might be something else. So I don't really know, but I'm past caring about it. I lived it. It's my past. I'm about my future. So, hopefully that wasn't a hot mess I just dropped on your lap.
No. It's part of the journey. And and there's a number of things. You have Philly roots, and believe it or not, I've done over 2,000 calls. Yep, Philly strong. I've done over two.
John is a Philly word. Like if
John is a Philly word. I didn't know that.
Look it up. You'll get all kinds of comments about that. Yeah.
Believe it or not, I've done over 2,000 of these. I've had on this platform more people from Philadelphia than any other city in the world.
Need to do a party about that then.
And they know
Zoom with that.
we could maybe that's a good idea. Maybe I should have my Philly party on Zoom. I'm gonna have the parking lot that. When you were younger, did you have any mentors?
I had a few. To be honest with you, they used to call me Jay Solo because I was always by myself. Like I would have friends, but like I would always be in and out of sort of, and that's probably what kept me out of some trouble, is whenever I found people that were like the gang ideas or just groups of people, I guess I was charming enough or adaptable. That's what I would call myself. I was really adaptable. Yeah. I could adapt to any crowd, but I never really had a best friend sort of person. And as far as mentors go, I will say that I can recall a couple. I mean, my dad was one, although he was pretty busy with his ministry. Like I said, I was really a lot in my head. I like books. So books were my mentors, comic books, especially. If you look around, I mean, like, I don't have all my stuff, but this is kind of like I surround myself with it. But comic books were a big influence. And then, so Iron Man was a mentor, like Stan Lee was a mentor, if you want to put it that way. Sure. But and it's a shame, and I might tear up about it. But there was one person who I felt like
give yourself time.
Yeah, he was like an uncle to me, but he ended up committing suicide. I never know why.
Oh my God.
So I had a few people do that around me, and I can never. I don't know why. It's always a question, but I will say this, that having experienced those people, and then what you see right now on a deeper level, experiencing those emotions of not knowing why. Even when I got in a dark time where I kind of had those kind of thoughts, those examples kept me from really, really considering it, because I knew that there was people aren't better off without you. And I don't want to go and say it's a coward's way out. I don't ever want to assume anybody's mental state in that, or where they go, or any of that crap. Because that's not my life. But it did make me smarter about pulling myself out of those areas. But that there was one person that would say he was kind of like, I felt like he was like the uncle mentor a little bit to me in some things. Overall, though, like I say, my father was, my biggest influence, the person I had the most access to. And then, books and experiences and people. I just really, I didn't attach to people, so deeply in that way, because I didn't really have that many. A few people stood out, but like not take me under their wing, show me a lot of stuff, because I'm the oldest of 10.
Whoa.
And yeah, 3 of them were 4 because one passed, but four.
My
four,
condolences, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. We come from a big family. My family demonstrated that ability to bring people into their house that were not necessarily their, well, they were biological, they were cousins' kids, but
Sure.
That heart, I got to see it early too. So like I said, my father's my biggest influence, probably my mentor. Even my younger brothers a little bit, I would say, are kind of mentors to me in a way that they probably couldn't understand. But everybody's a mentor to me if you think about it. But like the one stood out. His name was Edwin, by the way. So yeah, to answer your question.
Well, thank you, first of all, for being open. And I know what you just shared there. It impacted me. I know it's impacted other people, and it's really coincidental but interesting. The last 4 dads I've had on this platform have shared that there was a moment they wanted to quit life. So I'm humbled that yourself and the others are sharing, and you're saying it ain't easy. It ain't easy, but you come back and you don't quit. So to your friend Edwin, respect and blessings to him and what he has meant to you in your life and journey. And I know that you're doing him proud.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So let me ask, because time's going to fly, because you got so many interesting things going on. When did fatherhood become something that you wanted to be in your life? A father? What? Because not every man is a father. You're a father. You have 6 kids. When did that start to impact your life and your heart?
I want to say I was probably a selfish bastard for a lot of years. Even with all the good I'm doing in the world, being a firefighter and helping people and, having a wife, you like to enjoy your life. And fortunately, I was around a lot of givers. Like I said, my parents, my father, other people. And so at some point, that example just has to, sink in. Like, it ain't all about you, buddy. So, I want to say that I always wanted children.
Right.
How I wanted them was definitely not what I have now, I want to say, because that kind of developed over time. But, fortunately with me, when I got married, me and my wife, we actually had 5 years of no children because we wanted to kind of live our life. And which is, everybody's like wondering, because I come from such a big family, like, hey,
Yeah.
when are you going to do that? And it's like, let me live my life, relax, like just, chill. So, which is good. I think everybody should take a beat before you have children, because you need to build up those memories with your wife. Like you gotta have these fun times and adventures that you can go back to and keep in your fun bank. Because when everything's all kind of crazy and you're overwhelmed, it's like, hey, remember that? And you got these pictures, and it takes you back to a time where it was simpler. And that's actually the things that help you stay strong in the future, because you remember those things. And if you don't have time, or you don't take the time or the space to develop those memories, then I'm not saying you're going to fail. I'm just saying you're going to have a harder road ahead of you just because you didn't take that time out. Sure, you can take it later, but like, what about all the damage you can do to yourselves in between there that you didn't have these extra sort of jewels, these buried jewels, these like, these stashes of energy and love and experience that you can kind of go back to recharge off of and, renew off of. Because I don't know how long you've been married, but like you go through a lot. They always say there's like that 7-year
Yeah.
and that 10-year bump, and there's all these kind of things where like you're like, F this, I don't want to do this anymore. But these are, if you can have that kind of experience behind you, then you can always draw on those to get you through it. So as far as children, we waited about 5 years. We had our first, and then we kept trying, and it wasn't in the plan. My wife had some physical things that didn't allow her. I might as well say endometriosis, because it's something that affects a lot of women.
Yep.
And, I got tired of seeing her going through the pain and procedures of trying to fight through that. We had a couple of almost, but didn't happen. And so, because I came from a big family, I was like, you know what? I'm blessed. I was an entrepreneur. I was doing real estate investing, and I had the firefighter gig, and I was able to do both and still have a life. So I was like, got a lot of room in our life, our house, our hearts. Let's have a bigger family. One of the things my wife told me was, one of the things that attracted to me about you is that you had a big family, that you always have family around. So she liked that, and I liked it. So let's open up, our house to this possibility. So what we ended up coming up with was, there's a lot of ways you can get into adoption.
Yep.
The two that people always sort of go to is like, oh, you can foster or you can adopt. Well, there's shades in between there. What we chose to do was foster to adopt, because going in, hearing other people's stories, adoption, when you pay for adoption, when you go through, let's say you want to adopt from China, Russia, or another country, Brazil, even though you pay all this money and you think you have control, like a big reason you would do that is like, I don't want to know anything about the parents. I want a clean break, and all the other sort of stories you make up in your mind of what you think is going to happen in your future, which is funny because it never happens the way you think. You go and you go with this plan, and then you go to China, Russia, and poof, the thing goes away. Suddenly you don't have a child. Something went wrong. They try to do a switcheroo. Like I've heard all these horror stories of people that actually went and then it didn't happen for them. So they spent all that time, energy, and thought they had control. And guess what? You don't have any control. God has control. So the alternative to that is you can be a foster parent. Now that's very temporary. And some people, that is also a very good calling. Some people love that. They love to be able to help in between, but they just don't want to take on the full responsibility of 0 to infinity of the other person's life. And I respect that too. We have some very good friends that only do that, and they're blessed doing it, and great stories around it. And then there's the in between where we chose to foster to adopt. Why that is because I felt like A, it's cheaper. B, do local. You get to, there's always people around you that need this kind of help. So that's the road we chose. It was just economically better, control wise. You just have to yes, with that, you're going to deal with crazy biological parents. It is what it is.
Yep.
But there's no perfect scenario in there. Everything rests with take on the one, understand it. And then also I would say in this journey, find other people who have done it before you to lock arms with and become a support system. Just like you wouldn't go to some people go to the gym and work out by themselves, but the best gym is when you go with a partner, somebody to spot you.
Spot your reps.
Yes. Everybody needs a partner. The moms need another mom who's gone through it exactly, not something like exactly, because they can commiserate with each other. They got each other's back. They know exactly what they're going through. And it's just, they can cry, scream, shout, curse to that person. That person understands completely. They're not judging because they went through it too. The same with the fathers, someone to, be there and understand what their wives are going through and talk about it and ways of coping. I would say that everybody should, when they're considering this, find it. And actually I make myself available as a resource for that as well, because, actually that's why I do all this stuff, is because I want to be a resource for that as well. As I told you before, I'm on a journey to 100. I want to see 100 kids adopted through my influence in my lifetime. And what that means is I don't necessarily think I'm going to adopt 100 kids. I don't think anything's possible. A guy in India did it. So yeah, I could, but what makes more sense to me and what's how you can share. Like I rather share the load because I think that's, everything's better together, right?
Yep.
So I did 5. So I'm showing that I'm ready, willing, and able, that I've done it, that I could talk about it. I've helped 3 friends of mine who are also dad entrepreneur. 2 friends of mine adopt 3, and there's another 2 possibly in the works. But I got 9 still until that's final. I got 92 more to go. So I'm here for those people too. If we get in a conversation and that's something that's on your heart, you have my where I would where I might charge someone for my time. You get my time for free. That's how I'm because that's the bigger goal. That's the bigger why. Whatever I'm doing in business, whatever consultation, whatever endeavor, I'm trying to move people toward that. And if I make you a millionaire through something I helped you with, all I want from you is to consider that now that you have a bigger house with more rooms, maybe you want to fill
it up.
Maybe there's a place in your heart for that. Obviously not going to make you break the bank. So yeah, because I knew that, and I'll touch upon this real quick. I knew that when I made that decision to go over 3 children, that's something every dad might not say to their wife, but goes through their head. Because what do I mean? Everybody has the 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, 1-2 car, a dog, like 2.5, 3 kids, or whatever the statistic is in their head. And then they're like, okay, cool. Well, guess what? When you go above that, suddenly it's now you need a bigger car. Now you got a van. Now you got to have a bigger house. Now you got to pay more for school. Like everything doubles and triples per kid. So there's this sort of ceiling, invisible mental ceiling that dads got to go through and kind of do calculations on. And of course they're going to say, yeah, but I know what they're thinking because I was thinking that too. So that leap from 3 to more for a lot of dads is a hurdle. I mean, I don't know about the moms, but for dad, it's a hurdle. So I can speak intelligently and deeply about that part of things to anybody, which is I think nobody really talks about because nobody wants to admit that. Like I'm admitting it because I don't care, but like it's in your head. Just like it's like having thoughts about somebody's somebody attractive that you don't want people to know about. Like you just don't share that kind of stuff. So it's in your head. Well, I'm here to get it out of your head and out into the real world so we can deal with it, so you can get past it, so that you can open up your heart a little bigger, I guess. So
nice. Let me ask, when you and your wife made the decision to adopt, what were your family's responses and reactions initially to that?
So my father, my family, my parents already on board. They did it. So actually, yeah, they did it. So they're familiar with it, right? My wife's family, a little more reserved, but they seem, it's more like that. I would say, in my opinion, the reaction was like, oh yeah, that sounds nice. You should do that. But like, kind of like, I don't know how that's going to work out. Yeah. What's, all the probably the mental stuff like,
in their head.
What are they going to end up with? What are they going to choose? Yeah. What's it going to be like for the kid? All that stuff. So there was never a like, whoa, wait. It's more like, okay, kind of thing. Yeah. So
how initially, when you went through the first process, how did you handle it? Were there any moments you're saying like, oh my goodness? Because I can imagine some guys saying, you know what? I don't want to go through all of this. It's too much. Because I've helped fathers in this process. And sometimes I have to say, stay the course. What sort of suggestions, advice could you especially give for fathers who are looking to go through this process?
We make shopping lists, right? Oh. We're list guys, right? So when you go to the store, you're like, I do not want to come in here and browse. I want to get bread, milk, eggs, something I like, and I'll be out. Be the hell out.
That's me. Give me my list. I don't want to be around.
I want to be in and out. Okay, we're doing this. Let's get in and out, right? So that's how we think. So I was thinking, all right, me and my wife talked and like, what do we want? Oh, we definitely want a little girl. Got it. what kind of little girl we want. Well, mixed race, because we kind of both, like, she's darker skinned than I am. So
Yep.
we're, we can pretty much pull the diaspora into our household and have no real, like, even some of the ones we have now, they swear they're like blood relatives because they kind of all resemble each other, right? So that was kind of accidental, but the point I'm trying to make is, like, that's what you go. That's your shopping list. Okay, girl, mixed race, kind of can look like us. That's our first goal, right? So what does she do? Well, the first two, which we almost got, were definitely not that. Like, first of all, it was two. It was a sister and a brother.
Yeah.
They weren't babies; they were older. And Nicholas and Natalia, and we went forward and we were going to do it, and things didn't work out, and that was a testing period, right? So we got to get in there after we got all our certifications, and started learning the process. They touched our hearts, but eventually, like, and little sidebar, I always said that if I have to be the boogeyman, the kick in the ass to get a family member to come out of the woodwork, if they have to keep that family together, and actually for them kids to go back to be reunited with biological relatives, then that's okay, because that person needed to see that threat to do the right thing. So be it. So we lost we did not have those children because it was meant for their families, even though they kind of rejected them for years and years and years, for one of them to come out of the woodwork and say, you know what, I'm going to take it on, even though I'm a single, whatever. The point is, they went back to actual biological family members. So that was good. It was sad for us, but it was good. And I went in with the attitude that if I am that boogeyman, like I said, if we're that threat that makes them do the right thing, good. We're doing what we're supposed to do, even if we don't have that child. So boy and girl first. So, obviously she's already trying to color outside the lines. Okay. Next, she's like, we had a couple of other ones, and we didn't, I'm gonna be honest, we didn't feel like we were ready to take on anybody with medical difficulties, because yeah, just we didn't, because
I get it.
We're so scared. To be honest with you, we didn't want to make a bad situation worse, is really what it was. So we kept looking, and then she calls me one day and she's like, oh, I saw this little, they called me about this little boy. I'm like, yeah, tell me about him. Oh yeah, Caucasian, blonde hair. I'm like, all right, so what are you saying? Well, I want to go look at him. I'm like, well, that's not the list, right? I mean, I'm not saying no, but like, why you keep going off this list that we have? And I was like, all right, go ahead. So she goes and she checks him out, and she comes home and she's like, and I didn't go because I was working or something. Otherwise I would have. And she's like, I want him. And I'm like, oh, just like shoes.
I want them.
Yeah, that's where we're going. You just got a pair of shoes now, right? So long story short, that was Caleb Michael Centeno now. And he was our first. And to be honest, the experience with him was ideal. Like, very few people get through the process that quickly and that cleanly. Yeah. With him happened in a little less than a year.
Wow.
Which is odd, because usually it takes 2-3 years, right? But we were able to, he was in the system. What it was is he had other family, but like his parents were separated, both had issues. He had a brother. He was with the grandma. The grandma couldn't take another one because she was up in age and she could not handle a toddler. So she was like, I can't. Like, she's physically unable to do that with a younger child. So we met the parents, actually, and they both, after meeting us, gave us the thumbs up, and they were like, we will go with it, which is what made it quicker, that they actually approved us. We also left the door open for them to contact us if they ever got, their lives cleaned up through the state, because you don't never want to just do open adoption. You actually use the vehicle of the state to say, hey, if you can go and test clean and go through all these, and they tell us you're hitting all your marks and all that, then sure, you may meet this person again. And we actually did do one visit with them that way, but they just didn't stay up with it. So we always leave that door open. And another thing we do is we honor our children we change their name. We take their first name that they were given, like their actual birth name, and we move it to the middle as a middle name.
Sure.
I don't like come and erase the board clean and this person's like, you're imprinted on me now. We both felt like we want to honor their journey by like not totally getting rid of the, all their past. It's like, no, we're going to move it over. And if you want to talk about it, we'll talk about it. And if you ever want to meet them, then we'll figure that out. But like, you're going to know, and we're not going to hide things from you when you're old enough and we can have a good conversation about it. We'll take it from there. So, the older ones kind of know, and they talk about it, and God knows that they will bring it up at the weirdest times and in the weirdest ways. But whatever, this is what we took on. So there's a whole comedy show out of some of that stuff.
Well, I'm just thinking sometimes there could be you guys could do a reality show just sitting out of your house.
Especially because they sit there and they try to teach each other about who is what and where they came from, and if
okay.
like, how the hell do you know any of this stuff and you don't even know what you're talking about? So sometimes I laugh about it. My wife gets pissed off and upset, and she's like, "Oh, it's not the time or place, or you don't know what you're talking about." But it bothers her more than it bothers me. I'm amused by it, and I'll just handle it as it comes. So anyway,
after adopting as many kids as you have, how has it made you a better man?
A friend of mine was probably the best person to. Let me tell you what he shared with me, so that kind of makes sense. As you can tell, I'm energetic and probably a little ADD from all the conversation.
and you're from Philly.
Yeah, trying to keep me on a straight path is definitely a little bit of work, right? So he told me, he goes, over the years I've seen you, and he goes, I've seen you take on more and more and more and more, and everybody sees you as this like all over the place kind of person. They don't know like you have all these systems and ways of doing things, and this diagram in your head, like some kind of Russell Crowe doing these calculations.
Mm-hmm.
But I see that the more, like, it took literally that many kids to get you to a point where you could write that introduction that you gave us all here, which was nice, concise, to the point, clear, mission statement of 100. Like, it took that many things to tie me down, to be responsible, to keep me, moving armies and on point and disciplined, to focus on like one thing. And it's on a lot of years. So they are as much a blessing to me as I am to them, because they were able to tame the energy and some of the other things that I have that, for want of a better word, were probably untamable and probably to my detriment. So hopefully that answers the question.
No, it absolutely does. It sounds like they've given you foundation. They've given you a
purpose.
Yeah, the foundation and purpose and focus. But definitely the purpose is there. You better be. If you're not, go ahead.
Listen, you become like one of them kung fu masters, right? Like, so I'll give you examples. When I walk through the house, I am always aware of my surroundings, to the point that I block a nut shot. I spin from a hug that might, they go for your knees because they're small. So they try to hug you. I spin out.
They go low.
I'm sitting down. If I feel a shift in the cushions, I throw my head up because I know something's about to land on me. So being physically aware, like, I could probably take on maybe Chuck Norris and probably survive most of it, because I'm just so used to ducking and blocking just random attacks. Love attacks, yes, but random attacks and at my knees, and shots at my nuts, whatever. The point is, like, I'm always like guarding, like, whatever. So it's just like, reflex now. So that is one good thing. Probably could never get snuck up on in a robbery, really. Like, I'm aware. So
one of the things I'm blessed to do is I actually facilitate a course called Super Dad, Super Kids. It's a parenting course, especially for fathers. And one of the key things that we bring about in that course or share with fathers is, and I think I want you to speak to it because you got 6 kids. How important is playing with your kids if you're a dad?
That's all they want to do. So you got to figure out ways to make games out of everything. Fortunately, I mean, I excel at messing around. So that's kind of like if I was a doctor of anything, it would be like screwing around and playing games. So, I mean, you know, as I get older, my energy wanes. I try to make games out of refusing to play. So I don't know. I mean, you know, I do what I can. I try to get them out as I can. I will say this, like, I gave up long ago on the idea. Maybe it's an American thing, or just maybe it's a cultural thing around the world. I don't know. But this idea of like every single one of your kids got to go do karate and play basketball and do soccer and be in music and all that. I know we want a lot for our kids, but we tried that and it doesn't work because first of all, homework and everything else, and just trying to live your life and have family time. You can't do any of that if everybody's on different schedules. And sure. You know you're not going to get girls on the soccer team and boys on the ballet, and so all that, like when I'm financially able to, I'm going to bring somebody into the house to do like private lessons or something like that, because it doesn't make sense all the running around. But the point I'm trying to make is this: you make an activity out of anything you can do. Getting up and walking around is my house, as I already explained, is my sports activity. Like I get exercise just from ducking the shots. So, you know, everything I do is and you know, if you ever met my kids, they'll know I do it with daddy love. You know, I give some daddy love. It's a lot of hugs, a lot of kissing, a lot of snuggling. I try to keep it like low impact like that. And then when it comes to like other stuff, it's like games and all that, but it's hard to get them all because they all want to do one thing by themselves with you. So with that, I try to like take them out on a walk or do something different. Like if depending on who is on punishment or not, go do something special with them, walk around. And then, you know, like anything we do together, it's just like, it's a lot of things, a lot of moving parts. So I just try to keep it like, you know, manageable. And I try to preserve my energy as much as I can in these things because again, like, you know, if 5 kids are learning how to ride bikes at the same time, you know, somebody's getting hurt, I'm getting tired out. It's, you know, it's going to happen, you know, everybody's on a different sort of schedule. So you just got to kind of like do the best you can to maximize the time you have and make the most fun out of everything. You know, I do a lot of, with the girls, they like to play fake school and fake beauty shop. So guess what? I'm like, yeah, let's go to the salon today, do my nails and give me a massage and rub my feet. And that's like my favorite game of all. And I'm playing the game anytime I get a chance. And I think there's some like Facebook videos showing me taking full advantage of that. But yeah, like stuff like that is the games I will play all day. The nice. Come outside and this and that, like a bunch of, you know, running around outside. Well, you know, sometimes, but more than that, I'm at the spa. I'm at the fake spa.
How has the pandemic impacted you as a father?
So when it hit, I was still on the job. I was actually off injured, well, off duty because I full disclosure, I was suffering from PTSD towards the end there. It started to affect a lot of things. So I took off some time, and then the pandemic hit, and I was like, there ain't no way that, because my wife was also an essential worker. She worked at the hospital. So she was out a lot more, and I was home having to manage all these Zooms with like 2 computers, and everybody's on a different schedule. And it was crazy. It was definitely mentally challenging and stressful, and everything that everybody says it is. You gain a lot of weight, you get stir crazy, nothing good, not much good. But the good was spending more time, obviously building a tighter relationship. I don't want to say closer, just tighter bonds, problem solving, coming up with lots of solutions, because you can't just go out there and run around and do things anymore because you're limited by, you know, whatever shut down. Because I was up in the Yeah, I was up in the Northeast, and I heard Canada got hit again.
Yeah, well, right now where I'm living in Canada, Ontario, we're doing in our third shutdown in a little over last year.
Jeff Lopes told me
Yes.
they restarted everything over there. I was like, damn.
Yeah.
So fortunately, I was at a point in my life where I was able to say, you know what, I'm out. I'm going to retire. Let's go somewhere else, sunny Florida. Let's get out of this environment. It's like toxic. It's not good for any of us. We want to love each other, not want to kill each other every single day. So we went and moved someplace sunny, and thank goodness we had things fell into place in a space of a year that normally take people years of planning. But and it was God's providence. There was just all these things fell into place, and now everybody's trying to do that now, and it was like prices are crazy. We actually bought a house in February of last year, intending to move here, later, but we were going to do an Airbnb out of it. But with everything that happened, look, February and then March, everything got crazy.
Yeah.
From that period from March to May, everything was so crazy that we just was like, we're out. We're going to take that house. And then that's prices started going up and everything like that. So we got it when it was affordable and everything just fell into place. I'll be here all day trying to explain that. I don't want to take up your whole
I got some time. That's beautiful though. That is, and congratulations on that. That's
where the gator part comes in the end of the story.
Yes.
With gators in the lake, we got one outside out back that I'm constantly. That's kind of my fun. Like some people like to train pigeons and like play with dogs, and I'm over here messing like I just gator watch and tease them a little bit here and there. Yeah.
Well, parking lot the direct dad thing for a second. I want to find out the whole story behind the Dad Next Door show. How did that start?
So when I moved here, as I mentioned, it was chaos. Well, the chaos of last year. Everybody went through some kind of chaos. So all the plans that I thought I had, where I had like all these Airbnbs were running really great, and this was working and that was working. I'm going to do this when I get here, and I'm going to do that. All that kind of went out the window. So literally 80% of everything that I thought was going to be working wasn't. But I was determined. I was like, boom, I'm still like, I'm going through with it. 20% is a good ROI and investment. So I'm like, all right, I'll just go with the 20%. I think Mark Cuban said it, like, you only got to be right 20% of the time to still be be a success. I'm like, all right, so 20% still good. I went, and over time, I decided, after I got some clarity, some time to think, I was like, I said I didn't want to live my next 20 years like my last 20 years. That's why I moved. So if I start doing the same stuff again, if I just go back doing the same real estate stuff, it's the same. Like, I mean, I'm just in a different environment. So I kind of just paused, and I was like, well, what do I really like to do? And, after some soul searching and some dabbling, my passion was for helping for people like me, dad entrepreneurs, people that are working side hustles and still having a full-time job, because I feel like I'm uniquely qualified to help people that are employers and employees at the same time, because I lived my life that way for a good 20 years.
Right.
So that sort of started things coming together, and I was just like, you know what? I hooked up with this guy, Manny Lopez, and he's got this whole amazing platform. And also some other people, and they were like, man, you should probably do a show. Like if I was to help you do a show, that's what Manny came up with. So I was to help people do a show. What would you do a show about? I was like, I do a show for dad entrepreneurs, because those are my favorite people, because I'm one of them. And I'm like, and I don't know that there's that many specifically dad entrepreneur shows. There's just a lot of entrepreneur shows. Like I told you, I like a blue ocean. This one's a little green because you're in it too, but I'm all right. I share. Like, it's still Tahiti to me. We still got a lot of ocean there. Dad entrepreneurs. And, I kept winding it down, and I was like, let me just interview these people. They're like, oh, you got to monetize a podcast and you got to make everything. I'm like, no, I'm just going to do this for fun. Yeah. So what came of that was like, all right, so I'm going to do this for fun. And I started meeting a lot of cool dads, yourself included, like on Clubhouse. And then I was just like, well, you should be on my show. So I started interviewing other dads on how they balance life, business and family life. Because
sure,
hey, you got tips, I got tips, a real good tips. Like I got from last week from what's his name? Him, bodybuilder.
Matt Storm.
Yeah, he's like, look, you know, a piece of wisdom he got was like, are you a businessman with a family or a family man with a business? And I'm like,
Yep.
dude, that's like perfect. Like every time I'm wondering, like, what should I do? Go to that. And so, like, those are the gems that we come up with that help you make these decisions on how to balance things. Like that right there will help you figure out this, right? So that's a gem. And then from that became, you know, one of the guys was Jared Yellen, crazy. Um, he's the okay. So he runs Sela Labs, which I referred to. Their app development. He's already created a bunch of companies. He's like up to 30 something in development. So I was like, well, I had this idea around trash, crowdsourcing and monetizing trash collection, right? And now we're in development on it. We actually have a company on it. So I'm doing that. And he was like, well, I'm looking for guys. I'm looking for some people, some ambassadors to help me, because my mission is to get 100, create 10,000 tech companies by 2031. And I was like, you know what? My mission is 100 kids adopted through my influence of my lifetime. If I can help you create 100 tech companies, I'm probably going to get out of that. Well, I'm going to get 100. That's going to be 100 millionaires. If they create a tech company, probably going to be a millionaire. Of that, a subset are going to be dads, and they're entrepreneurs because they created a tech company. So that's my market. So in my journey to 100, there's this little, you know, funnel of 100 millionaire tech company dads that can be part of that, you know, help me get part of that 100. So from that, like I said, that gave me the clarity, and it's fun, like helping people with big ideas whittle them down into something that becomes marketable, because it's not just, oh, I got a great idea. It's like, okay, how's it going to change the world? How's it different than anything else? How are we going to present this to investors? How are you going to raise money? And then, okay, you make the app, because I've made an app before and it's sitting there and it's still unused, and I might remake it for something else, maybe for dads. But I didn't have a marketing arm. I didn't have a sales team. I had this idea. Here it is. Like, now what? So we go from the now what? Like, there's no more now what. There's also, if you get involved with us on this thing and joint venture, there's a sales force. There is a marketing team. There's all this stuff to take you from 0 to 100. And, you know, that is fun for me, because I'm doing it myself, and you're coming in right behind me as I'm doing it. I'm showing you what I'm doing to be successful. So I'm not just this guy sitting up on this board talking about all these things you could do. I'm literally the gunny sergeant in there in the trench with you, telling you to duck your head. I'm not the general. You can't touch me. You can't relate to me, or I can't relate to you because I'm way past you. No, I'm in it with you. So I like that. I've always liked that. That's how I like dealing with people. So that's just the path now. And I don't know where else it's going to develop, but maybe I'll be the representative for Goya, since you got Dove. Maybe they come at me and
hey, anything I can do to amplify what you're doing, because you're doing it with the right heart and the right intent, and we're all in this boat together. We want to help fathers and their families. So that's really like the bottom line. So, and are you enjoying doing the show?
I am. Who do I got? Another Dr. Obam Bowen. He is a former Marine who wrote a book called what is it called? Oh, Today is the Day. Awesome book. You should pick it up. It's a motivation, self-improvement motivational book. But I actually was in a coaching program with him too, a mastermind.
Sure.
And he's a world traveler. He's definitely an interesting cat. He's a millionaire now, and he lives half the time in Dubai. He's back and forth from Florida a lot, but he has a bunch of companies. Well, I think he shut the clothing one down, but he has a few companies.
Sure.
And he's just a big old package of entrepreneurship. So of course I want to. Plus, I know his wife. We almost share the same birthday, so we're both Libras, so we get along. And his daughter's really cute. His other kids I haven't met, but so we're actually hung out with each other, which is nice, because I've never physically hung out with any of my guests until this 15th guest. He's the first one that we've actually been in each other's houses, so that's kind of cool.
get used to it if you're going to go as deep as I have. Because as I said, I've done over 2,000, and there were some people who I knew, but outside of the few people that I have on that knew, I've only met one or two face to face. And actually, one of them is a gentleman who's a high-level executive coach. And when we met, he was doing a conference here in Toronto. We met, and he asked me to write the foreword of one of his books. So that was really humbling to have that happen. So that's good. We're going to start winding it down because I know that quietness can only last so long in that house. So got some quick exiting out questions for you. So first things up, in your fatherhood journey, is there anything you wish you'd have done different, or any things you wish you have done different so far?
That's a trap.
Okay. You're the first father who's responded to me on that way, but you don't disappoint me. It was not meant as a trap.
No, I mean, it's a trap in thinking, meaning like, I wouldn't want to do anything different in my head, only because I've just seen my path and how I've had a disappointment maybe 2 years ago that turned out to be a blessing now. Like if I had it, the world would be so different. My world, I wouldn't have what I have. I wouldn't have the life I have. So could I be in a bigger house with more? Maybe, but I might not be enjoying that more. I might, because sometimes more is just more, right? So I might not be enjoying myself. I might not be having an impact on anybody. These kids would not be in the picture. And I couldn't imagine my life without them. So anything along that way that would have changed that possibility or reality, I say no to, because first of all, I'm not done yet. So who knows what's at the end? Like, I'm excited for that. And how, if I go back, I watch a lot of sci-fi and time travel movies, and, big fan of them. In fact, Synchronic on Netflix is really, really cool movie. You should check that out. Anyway, changing things like that we're wasting. I don't know. I feel like you're just wasting your thought process. You should just focus on what's in front of you, because that's way more exciting, right? Like, that's all you have. You don't have tomorrow. You don't have yesterday. You can't do nothing about yesterday. You can't unring any bells, and you can't worry about what's happening tomorrow that hasn't happened yet. Just deal with the right now. So no, I wouldn't change anything, because I'm more afraid of what I would lose than what I would gain. How about that?
Absolutely. Another question for you. Think back when you were a father for the first time, compared to fathers who are first-time fathers today. Do they have it easier than you did, or do they have it harder than when you were a first-time father?
Oh my God. Well, I think it's harder now because things are easier. And I know that sounds contradictory, but it's a lot easier for someone to say, I don't need you right now. Right. And I don't need your advice. I have the internet to ask advice from. I can get experience from other people. I'm closer to everything that will, relationship wise, that would strengthen a bond is being pulled apart by the news and bad thinking, and people don't know what to call themselves anymore, and worrying about what the world sees through this filter of social media, and they don't really know you. Like you just said it, you've only met 2 of the guys that you've interviewed, but you have relationships. These relationships, can we say they're full relationships if you have not shared a meal with somebody or gone through a struggle? So yes, we have them, and exponentially help us grow. But the deep ones, and those are the ones that are the most important, where your roots are going to come from, are going to be with the people you've shed tears with and eaten food with and smelled their dirty farts, unfortunately. But the point is, you have these things that tie you together that will make you stronger in the future, because that strength is being slowly eroded by all the things we have at our attention, and the ease in which you can get access to those things is definitely the competition for you, right? I only have so much energy. Well, I can go out here and I can go rent somebody to play football with me. You know what I mean? Like okay, you know, but that also tears people apart, honestly, because they think they don't need each other anymore, which we do. So harder, definitely harder.
Okay. What traditions did your father pass on to you that you've passed on to your kids?
I don't know.
If any.
Well, just having an open household.
Yeah.
My father brought a lot of people into the house. He would help, and for want of a better word, he was he was very trusting, sometimes to a fault. But I got that from him, but I don't regret it. What I mean is that people will come into your lives, and you will open your hearts and houses to them, and they will hurt you and sometimes betray you. But he also showed me that that doesn't matter, because you still gotta keep doing it for the ones that are worthy of it, like that you will help, even if it's 1 out of 100. So yeah, other people may beat you down about that, but even those close to you, thinking that you're like gullible or too kind or just a sucker or whatever you want to call it. Excuse me, but that's them from their angle. If you have a stronger purpose, you're developing your muscle for, in my case, the 100. You know, everybody else has their own reason for it, but that tradition of openness and welcoming into the home is what I got from him, and I hope to keep, and which is very actually a useful mindset in today's sort of 6 feet back and wear a mask and I can't be in a crowded place with you crap. Like, excuse my language. So yeah.
What was one of the hardest moments you've had as a father, and why was it hard?
Hardest. Well, I don't know that I've gotten to my hardest yet.
Okay.
But like, you know, you're asking this now question. I want to say, and I alluded to it briefly, where I had suicidal thoughts. When you know, they say sometimes when you're super successful and then you kind of fall,
Mm-hmm.
like, you know, actors, like, you know, child actors, there you go. They're great child actors and then they just can't get work after. So everybody is going to hit this thing in their life where they're going to probably be very successful at something, and then something's going to happen. And it could have just happened in the past couple of years with COVID. Like, you could have been on top of the world, your business was humming, yada, yada, yada. Everything was great. And then, like, boom, the whole airline industry is wiped out, vacation, like anything. It could, you know, you don't think it would ever happen. It's too strong. And then boom, something like this happens. So that experience for me was back in early, I forget the exact year. I want to say 2000, not 14, 2010 area. There you go. 2010, 11, something like that. Where like I mentioned, I was experiencing real estate investor, and I was doing well, doing flips and all that. But I had a couple of houses that went really bad on me, and I had to do short sales. And I don't know if you know anything about the process of short sales, but you know, it's kind of like when people foreclose on your house and you have to fight it, and you have to go in there and negotiate and things like that. So I went from being, you know, Mr. on top of the world, expert, doing well, to losing stuff, possibly having to go bankrupt.
Wow.
So there was a point where, and I remember I was driving to work, and I will say this, there was this one song that saved me from the darkest of thoughts, because every time I would think of the lyrics, I would keep my head on straight. There you go. So it would come on the radio on my morning commutes to work, and you know, I'd be stuck in traffic, and I think it's called "Lead Me." I forget who sings it, but it was just these words of a father, asking for guidance from God because he doesn't know what to do, and people are depending on him. So that song kept me straight for, you know, that was kind of my anchor.
Nice.
And over time, I was able to, you know, I actually got through that, was able to come around. And during that time, I was being advised by friends of mine, you know, just declare bankruptcy. It's easy. It's like you get your credit cleaned up in a year, you're like, fine. And I was like, no, I can't do it. I can't do it. There's something kept telling me not to do that. So I actually fought my way out. One of the short sales wasn't so bad. I had to end up coming up with some money that I didn't want, didn't really have at the time, and pay to get out of it. But the other one took like 5 years to fight, and it was just ridiculous fight. But I learned a lot of skills from that, and I was able to call on like a lot of things. And this will be a long podcast. That's a whole nother podcast. But
don't worry, you're there's a part 2 of you in you already, so you know that.
I was able to work my way out of that problem, and I didn't declare bankruptcy. Well, what I found out later, I guess the little voice in my ear telling me not to do it, was we were in the process of adopting at that point. And one of the things they do is you cannot have a criminal record, you cannot have a foreclosure or bankruptcy.
Wow.
And I didn't know that till later, till we were already in it. But had I gone that route, we would have none of these kids, because that bankruptcy would have stopped me from adopting children. So
divine intervention or what?
Listen to that voice. Yeah.
Okay.
And also, in business, like if you have bankruptcies, they I don't care who you are, like they're gonna look at you side-eyed if you ever want to get in business again. So do everything you can to just, if you take anything from this, if you did it already, I mean, it is what it is. But if you're thinking about something like that, do everything you can to not do that. Work out details. Don't go that route if you can at all possibly
avoid it,
because if you ever had it in your heart that you wanted to adopt a child in the future, you're just going to cut yourself off there. Like, so, and if I can help you, guide you, and just anybody out there that reaches out to me that has that question, and maybe they're going through that right now, like seriously, call Dr. Vibe to call me to do something, because I'll talk to you and try to help you to work your way through that so you don't have to go that route.
Absolutely. And before we end our epic conversation, I'll definitely give Jason's information out. Another few more questions. What are 3 of the happiest moments you've had in your life so far?
Happiest moments. Let me think. Well, I guess my first little girl. So we wanted a girl, and we were looking around, and we got a call that they found someone who was a possibility. So I didn't get to see her. We were going on a trip to Haiti. So I went to Haiti to go help build houses with my church back in, I think, 2014, right? And I go and I come back, and there's a little girl in my house. I'm like, oh, well, I guess we did that. So in a way, like, that was happy for me, because I leave and I come back and I got what I want, like a little present. So that would be one. A common, and then another thing about her is she's like the most happy of my children. She's always smiling, but when she's miserable, she's super miserable. So there's that. But like, she's usually always got a smile on her face. She's a morning person, and she's that girl. I don't know. I guess my 50th, I was pretty happy just to see who was there to honor me. Yeah, I'm 50 years old. If that's something that you,
congratulations.
I'm at least that. Let me say, because that was a while ago.
Okay.
Most people kind of like, well, what? And I'll let you keep thinking what, but you're hearing. So yeah, just seeing those people there, who showed up for me, especially like the former fire commissioner of Philadelphia, who was actually instrumental in kind of keeping me on the path when I was going down a dark one during that time I mentioned. And there was also some stuff with my job and just kind of self-loathing and some other things going on, that he was in a position to do some real damage to me. He could have, but he actually reached out and sat with me and my coworkers and helped us work it out and put me back on the straight and narrow. So I was happy to see him. That was definitely a moment. And then I guess another one is, I got a lot of happy moments, but there's a friend of mine, Sean. Well, he's like my son. He's a kid I mentor, and he's always making me happy in his growth and his he's actually helped me out. He's helping me out of a jam right now, believe it or not. But just having someone who was like a son to me, because my kids are still, my oldest just turned 17, but like, someone older to impart some of my experience into, and then actually takes it and uses it and becomes successful with it. He's constantly making me happy with his growth, and I can't wait for him to be better than I am at everything. Like, I can't wait for that. So
wonderful. Yeah. Beautiful. Last conversation piece. What do you enjoy most about being a father?
Daddy love and daddy hugs. I call it chickie love, and it's basically when my kids are
chickie love. I love it.
So it's daddy love when I give it, and it's chickie love when they give it to me. So when I get a lot of chickie love, like, then they just kind of they pile on, and sometimes I can't breathe. But at the same time, when we're sort of kind of like not moving so much, and they're just kind of around me like that, that's kind of my favorite stuff right there. So,
well, Jason, want to say a huge thanks to what you have done, what you are doing, and what you're going to be doing, because I see the path is going to be a beautiful one. There may be some bumps along the way, but you know how to handle the bumps. And want to bless you. You're a real blessing. I know the first time I heard some of your story on Clubhouse, said, I want to know more. And even after this, I want to continue to know more and learn and glean from you, because you have a lot of valuable experience, not only dads, but just the world, I feel, needs to know and learn from. So just want to bless you, man.
Well, thank you. And blessings right back at you, brother. I mean, I know you had a good vibe. I mean, you call yourself Dr. Vibe. So you run them clubhouses, rooms, you bring a lot of positive energy, and if you were color, you would be like purple, because you just bring that like nice. And
I'm a Prince fan. There you go.
You just bring that chill, that royal,
much respect.
Something in there, and it's like, I'm definitely glad you reached out to me to do this.
Absolutely.
And anything I can do for you, just let me know.
This is the beginning of a great journey, my man, and I want to do anything I can to amplify you and your family.
Appreciate that.
So before we leave, if you're watching this, the Dad Next Door show is on your screen. For those who are gonna listen to the replay via audio, it's the dadnextdoor.tv. You can also touch base with it on Facebook, the Dad Next Door on Facebook, Instagram at the Dad Next Door, at the Dad Next Door _. And then also, if you want to email him, the dadnextdoortv@gmail.com. Very happy after this conversation. My heart is full. And Jason and I talked before, and I already have ideas on how I can help amplify his mission, because there's just so many things that he has a lot of gifts to bring this world. And it's individuals like Jason that I love to help amplify the gifts, because he's doing it with the right reason, and more importantly, with the right intent. So Jason, huge thanks again. I hope you have a good rest of the day.
You too, my man. And then when you do that Philly Zoom,
yes, you got to be part of it.
Party thing going, you got a co-host of me right here. Just got to.
There's you and another gentleman named Henri Morris, who he lives out in California right now, but he says he's fully strong. And what he always says when he comes on, he goes, he says, Dr. Vibe, it's time to knuckle up and buckle up. So that's a Philly. So peace and blessings, my man.
All right, man. You too.
All right, it's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe show, the home of Epic Conversations. I'm the host of Epic Conversations. 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner, 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. If you want to touch base with me, the best place, there's my website. Also, you can catch me once a month hosting online conversations for fathers and dads that are sponsored by Dove Men Care. It's the only one in the world that they sponsor, by the way. Also, sponsored by Dads Central, Canada's national fatherhood organization. Also, I'm saying also too much. When I have time, though I do make time, I do represent the Global Food and Drink Initiative, GFDI. It is a multimedia, not-for-profit that showcases Blacks in the diaspora that are doing it in the areas of food, wine, and travel. So definitely check out them. As always, I like to close off with this. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions, then aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect, and definitely remember to give yourselves grace. Just one other thing. If you're watching this, if you want to receive a special gift from me for watching this, I have a little thing I'd love to send. Go to the VIBESHOW.com/offer, and I'd love to send you a special gift. Folks, that's it for today, and look forward to having you part of the next epic conversation. God bless, peace be well, keep the faith, and walk good.